Hello everybody, I'm InTheLittleWood, also known as Martyn, and welcome back to Hytale. It has been exactly 4 years since I last uttered that phrase. My last video on the game was in the summer of 2021. The game had just been delayed to 2023, and we were right in the middle of the Riot Games chapter of this story. There was scope creep, engine rewrites, a changing of visions, and lots of other admin between then and now. But what's important to know is that on November 17th, 6 days ago, the blog post, Hytale is saved, was finally made. And I think it's fair to say that we've had more information about the game in the past 6 days than we have in the past 6 years since the trailer's release, which for a believer like myself is huge. And that's exactly why I waited until today to create a video, because we went from Hytale is saved on Monday to hey, there's early access by week's end. You heard me correctly. Early access, coming in a matter of weeks. We know this because Simon has been heavily suggesting that's what the timeline is, but we got a slightly more blatant wording from Noxy's engine, which is the technology that is used to create user interfaces in a ton of video games. And they did a tweet saying, "We're thrilled to see what's coming next, and it's not months away, it's weeks." Then 2 days ago, we get official pricing for the game, $19.99 for the standard, and 2 higher tiers labeled Supporter and Cursebreaker for $35 and $70 respectively. And rightfully so, people have been querying, what exactly do you get if you're paying all this extra money? And as of right now, we simply don't know. I think probably by the end of next week, we'll have more insight, but for now they've said cosmetics. So that will be extra hats, maybe capes, stuff in that kind of vein. Because if you don't remember, this game doesn't allow you to simply just upload a skin. There is a character creation tool in the game, which, don't get me wrong, is very dense and there is a lot of stuff in there, but those little extra goodies to stand apart from the crowd are always going to be sought after. So this video is likely titled something to the effect of How to Play Hytale Day 1. That's not clickbait. I'm not talking specifically today about the download methods or the launch preview we've had this week, but more importantly, the sentiment and expectations I would really love everybody to have going into this game. The first of those is using code InTheLittleWood when you purchase the game. That's not even a meme. Today, literally as I'm recording this video, Simon's just announced the supporter creator function, which is going to work for content creators as well as modders. So if you could use that, check the pinned comment on this video when my code gets confirmed. That'd be splendid. But self-promotion and half jokes aside, I really want to use this video on my platform to help reiterate Simon's messages. In every single interview, tweet, blog post, whatever it may be, he has constantly and meticulously been detailing the type of product we're going to get in our hands. This will be genuine, true early access. It's not the kind you see big studios roll out when they're trying to avoid getting review scores before they've managed to patch up all the holes. We are getting something that used to be hundreds of threads, loads of tangled webs of code, unified into a singular product that is actually playable. It doesn't mean it will be bug-free. In fact, there are probably going to be a bunch of them, but it's for us collectively to report those and make this the best game it can possibly be. They've said that the game is okay at the moment. Their goal is to make it good, and later down the line, they're going to make it great. They have already committed to 10 years of development as of now. That's not including the 7 years that have passed. That is starting from today up to 2035-ish. They are going to be working on this title. And thus, my public service announcement concludes. Let's start talking about all the juicy goodness we got this week. What did we learn? Well, first and foremost, we got a brand new logo. Now, don't worry, it hasn't massively departed the previous one. Here's the old, and here's the new. Just a little bit of an angle shift and some sprucing up of the letters. And I was lucky enough to get a zip file or two from Buttercat, the community manager, of some brand new vector versions, just flat colors, perfect for watermarks and various other uses. The day after the blog post went up, we then got 16 minutes of raw recorded gameplay in the current build of Hytale. The video is called Breaking the Curse because that's exactly what they're trying to do. And in the 5 days since it published, as I'm sat here right now, it has a whopping 1.2 million views, and people say this game is dead. Nah. Some personal highlights for me are mantling, the ability to climb up 3-block tall walls, or you can just launch yourself across a ravine and cling onto the other side like an action hero. Treecapitator is in the game by default. Watching these huge oaks just come crashing down as soon as they lose their anchor is super satisfying. We got a showcase of loads of different weapons and their ultimate abilities, which is really fun to see. Although I did have a question about that. So the two-handed axe has a spin to win move, which is very clearly using up the ultimate gauge in the bottom bottom right corner when you press Q. But later in that same clip, they do a leap into the air and a slam, but that doesn't use any kind of ultimate gauge. Is that just mobility if you hold maybe like right click, or do you have to press a separate button for that? And a few moments later, the character also jumps off a relatively tall ledge and does like a parkour, like barrel roll as they land. What is the full damage height? Because so far they've jumped like 5-6 blocks, nothing. It's a really small detail, but I'm really enjoying the fluidity going from first person view out into third. The camera pulls back immediately out of your head so you can see what's going on. And it's definitely the right shout having it snap back into the head as opposed to glide in. That might get a bit nauseating. I'm very happy to report that the sacred poop still remains inside a Hytale in the second inventory slot. And whilst we're in there as well, let's address the varying stack sizes. I mean, if you look at what looks to be some kind of amber or sap, that goes up to 89. You've got logs, which seem to be capping at 50. Sticks go up to 250 each. And when asked about it, Simon said that these are completely configurable, so maybe they'll consider upping it to about 100 for regular blocks, but only time will tell. And of course, this game is going to be continually compared to Minecraft because it can't not when it's got cubes in it. But they have a really good chance here. Having to lean so heavily on shulker boxes and bundles and the like has always been a frustration point for people, even just for builders who just want to have a broader palette when they're making things. Zone 4 footage, my dude. Let me repeat that. Zone 4 footage. This has been one of the more like mysterious locations in Orbis for quite some time, and the beauty about Hytale is that it stacks its biomes vertically rather than just horizontally. That means that you can go down deep enough in the Earth's crust beneath Zone 4's lava lands and find a beautiful, lush jungle filled with dinosaurs, bioluminescent plants, and all kinds of other things. In the early access we get to play, apparently it only goes up to Zone 4, but Simon keeps saying there's a surprise, and I don't know if that means we'll get Zone 5 revealed, or whether there is just going to be more elements to these prior 4 that we don't know about. There's guns. We've got guns. I don't really know how to elaborate on that one. And then finally from this gameplay footage that I want to talk about are the portals. The very last thing to happen before we roll credits is Simon places down an ancient gateway, and into it he plugs in an Orbis fragment. This one goes to Bleak Root Bog, which I assume is one of the many biomes the game has to offer. And people had asked Simon, is this a dungeon that you're going into or a small instanced area? And he said no. So my take on this situation is that this is going to be a fast travel method that is temporary. So you can go through the portal if you want to get to a certain part of the world that you visited previously, and you can stay there if you want. The portal closes behind you and it'll be a longer journey home. Or if you simply want to go in, grab a couple of bits of flora, maybe grab some logs, some saplings, just some bits for your decoration purposes, then you're more than welcome to do that. Get back through the portal before it shuts and you've got the materials you need. But then you're left with the question of, how do you get these fragments? Is it a rare mineral that you can find buried deep down in the caves? Or maybe it's a particular mob drop that you can get from higher level minions in that zone. But of course, this is all speculation, and I would love to know your highlights. What is your favorite moment from the Breaking the Curse video? Fire off in the comments. And we got a huge blog post regarding modding for the game. I'm obviously not super qualified to talk about this as I've not done much Minecraft modding. I've only gone as far as writing plugins for paper. But some broad strokes that I think everybody will appreciate is that all mods will be server-side first. And actually, when you're playing in single player, you're basically playing on a local server. So there aren't client-side mods and server-side mods. There are just mods. Everything will work in unison. And they showed off a list of tools that are available today. First of those being the Hytale Asset Editor. They released an entire video showing the construction of a custom-made portal using that. Super techie. If you want to check that out, the link will be in the description. And now everybody's favorite boy, Blockbench, is at the forefront of modeling, animations, and textures for Hytale. Which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody because everyone from modders to server owners and even Mojang themselves have been using this software to create mobs now for quite some time. The only reason I mention this is because Hytale were fleshing out a first-party tool called the Hytale Model Maker, and it had one really cool feature that I would love to see in Blockbench. That was the capability to have a pixel artist, an animator, and a modeler all working on the same rig at the same time from different computers, from different parts of the world, and it all worked in unison. I would love to see that come across. And to keep things surface level, people have been asking, where's Lua? Where is scripting for the game? And the short answer is they don't have any text-based scripting and they don't intend to add any. The direction they're going to go with it is visual scripting. If you've ever used Blender and had the node trees, similar to Unreal Engine and its blueprints, that's the kind of direction they're steering. It's going to be a lot more user-friendly. They've got the asset graph editor, which isn't complete, but they want to put it out in its current form. And I think overall, this will make things easier for the average person. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the soundtrack of Hytale now being readily available to listen to. You can use it in your content so long as you're sensible with it. And Oscar Garvin is teamed up with Victoria Beaumont on the vocals to create a brand new song called This Is Our Tale. And there's even a cheeky guitar solo in there from senior visual designer at Hytale, Pierre Frick. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first Hytale song we've had that has vocals. It has that really classic motif, and I can't praise Oscar's work enough. It is 80% of Hytale for me at this moment. I guess because we've not played the game, it's all we've had to indulge in. So in the coming weeks, expect to see plenty more videos from me regarding Hytale. I don't know if I'm going to go down news-centric videos, gameplay-centric videos. I really want to enjoy the game for the first time properly. You only get to play every video game for the first time once. I want to sit there on streams for hours upon hours, exploring the sandbox world, not going into the creative menus to spoil myself, and just drink it all in, man. There'll be plenty of time to geek out about the lore of the game and all the hidden Easter eggs in the item descriptions at a later date. I'll save that for when adventure mode comes out, whenever that comes out. So keep an eye on this space. Let me know what types of videos you would much rather see in regard to this topic. Have a great one. Be sure to use code InTheLittleWood, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.